The summer between my junior and senior year of high school, I convinced my mom to let me go camping with my friends and two of my cousins. Her only condition was that we bring my dogs with us. We agreed and ended up at a campground 3 hours from the city, on a picturesque lake nestled at the base of a mountain. It wasn't very crowded and there was plenty of room to hike, swim, canoe, and just be teenagers. We ended up picking a spot away from the lake, where the mosquitoes were less thick, and settled in for the night in 3 different tents. Sometime during the first night, not long after sunset, I woke up to my dogs, which were with me in the tent, barking and what sounded like footsteps. I turned on our flashlight and peeked out, expecting to see an animal, when my flashlight beam landed on a person. He was tall and heavy-set, standing at the edge of the trees, and as soon as I called out to him, he turned and hurried away. I woke up my friend, but we ended up dismissing it as someone who mistook our campsite as empty. The next day was normal, even if I did get the feeling that something was off once or twice. And we ended up finding an abandoned cabin on our hike, which was cool, but definitely didn't help with the creeped-out feeling I was having. I was starting to feel more relaxed by the time the evening came, and after dinner I decided to walk down to the lake and get pictures, since the light was beautiful. I went alone and started taking pictures on the dock when the feeling of being watched returned tenfold. At this point, the first of 3 potentially life-saving pieces of advice came to mind. Trust your instincts. My mom had said this to my sister and I time and time again, and I decided to take her advice and get out of there. The second piece of advice came into play when I noticed a van, cliche I know, driving slowly down the road I was walking. They sped up once they passed me, and my feeling of unease increased. Better than safe than sorry, a lesson my neighbor, a self-defense instructor, had taught me. If you think someone is following, respond as if you're certain they are. Your life is worth being paranoid over. I started to jog, desperate to find a way out, when the van turned around. At this point, there was no question in my mind as to whether or not I was being targeted, and when the van stopped about 5 feet in front of me and the driver's side door opened, the last piece of advice was brought to mind. So, give him hell, another quote from my neighbor. I hadn't brought my bag with me, which contained a knife and bear spray, so I was left to improvise. The guy was about 4 feet in front of me when I darted to the ground and snatched the biggest rock I saw. He lunged at the same time I did and swung with my left hand while twisting my right from his grip, nailing him in the head and keeping a hold of my weapon. At this point, I'd forgotten another important lesson, which is to keep your eye on your attacker, and he had his arms around me in moments. I was screaming like a wild animal at this point, not even forming words, and I realized I would have to use gravity if I was going to get this guy off of me. He was tall and big, much stronger than me, but I had a lower center of gravity. I leaned forward, keeping my feet on the ground, and began hitting. Sure, I was terrified, but I was also the angriest I've ever been in my entire life. I felt more like a wild animal than a teenage girl in that moment. At that point, he was still reeling from being hit with a rock, and he didn't have a good grip on me, so I managed to get away and sprint to the end of the road. At this point, my friends and some other campers had heard me scream and were running to meet me, along with both my dogs, which were pulling at their leashes, barking and growling. The guy quickly retreated and peeled out of there when he saw the dogs, and none of us got his full license plate. We called the cops, but they never found the guy, which is scary. The police said he probably didn't expect me to put up as much of a fight as I did, and that's probably